2022, episode 454. I'm going to start Instagram as well. And good evening to Instagram as well. I hope you're all okay. This is episode 454. This is the first one of 2022. I've allowed myself a week off live streaming. So very glad to be back, very excited to be back. I feel a genuine sense of, I feel excited. I feel slightly nervous, if I'm to be completely honest. I do feel a healthy amount of nerves. It's my first stream for probably a week. I think I've taken a week off. It could be 8 or 9 days. I don't know, but I've had some time off. So I hope you have all had a good end of 2021. I hope you've all managed to spend some time with your family and friends and loved ones, etc., etc. I hope as many of you out there did not do what I did, which was to be completely alone. World's smallest violin playing for me. Anyway, but I'm one of those dirty lepers, as you know. So anyway, enough of that. It's episode 454. On with the show. It's pretty hard to not speak about what's going on currently in the cultural space of our society. It's pretty hard to ignore what's been going on. So without further ado, as they say, let me get into this. Just making sure I've got some charge here. I like to think that my audience, as infinitesimally small as my audience is, I'm under no illusions, although I have gained some new subscribers. I think I've broken 3,100. Let's have a quick look. So as a matter of, it probably won't let me see it because I'm actually live now on YouTube. My channel. Yeah, 3,000, so 3.12. So there's my channel there on YouTube, which of course I'm now currently live. And goodness me, I am one ugly son of a bitch. Odds be to doggedly telling the truth. Well, yes, I am doggedly telling the truth. I will continue to tell the truth. It does me no favors. Algorithmically, if you utter the truth, and when I say truth, I've repeatedly said this on this live stream, when I say I'm going to speak the truth, it is objective, empirical, findable, measurable, palpable, there it is, easy search truth. I'm not a fan of this my truth bit. Okay, so when this modern phenomenon of people talking about I'm going to speak my truth, that for me personally is not what I'm interested in doing, because again, the minute you say my truth, you're into a subjective world where, depending on what you're under the influence of and how your imagination is, you could say, well, the sky is red and the grass is blue. You could live in a fantasy world, as a lot of people do. I think I speak for many people when I say I am astounded, and I mean this. I am on a daily basis, like metaphorically, getting us, that proverbial smack in the face where I just look at what's going on, and that's why I continue to talk about the truth. Now, unfortunately, and this is pretty much the main theme of most of these streams these days. We're split. We're very much divided, aren't we? In this country, in America, this is a constant theme that I speak about in these live streams. But I find it hard to not speak about this, and you know, unless you've not been watching what's been going on in the podcast world and just looking at news, you will have missed what's happened in the last week over the festive season. Let me say that, with none other than Joe Rogan. Is it fair to say that Joe Rogan has become something of a cultural, like a touchstone, like he's become our thought leader, hasn't he? Although if you said that to Joe, it would be like giving a compliment to an extremely good artist, actor like Daniel Day-Lewis. If you've ever watched Daniel Day-Lewis in interviews, whenever an interviewer pays him a compliment, because let's face it, Daniel Day-Lewis, in my opinion, is the sort of holy grail of acting. If you watch Daniel Day-Lewis films, you'll realise that. And as much as Daniel Day-Lewis, when he receives a compliment in an interview by the interviewer, you see him visibly, sort of shudder. It's quite palpable. You can feel his cringe. He doesn't like to receive compliments on his craft. And the same can be said at Joe Rogan. Whenever you look at a Joe Rogan podcast where a guest or someone he's talking to, heaps upon him praise, and they say, "Yeah, Joe, you're an inspiration. You're this, you're that." He's very humble about it and modest, and I think that the hallmarks of any outlier, anyone, and this applies to all. Again, this is just my opinion. I need to stop caveating it. Of course, it's my opinion. Just take it as a given. It's my bloody opinion. Anyone, whether it's whatever you're skilled at doing, whether you're an athlete or just doing this, just talking to people, talking to the camera. If you're adept at doing something, from my own life experience, the people that are bloody good at things, like I say, whether it's a physical endeavor or more of a mental endeavor or just speaking like this, the ones that are damn good are the ones that don't like compliments, and they level a lot of self criticism. They're their own worst critic. Now, I'm not saying I'm special at this, far from it, but I certainly critique what I'm doing, to the point of arguably self-loathing. Where I still can't watch these bloody streams back. The fragility of the male ego. Ordinarily, us males, I'm not going to call myself an alpha or anything, a beta or a gamma or whatever on the scale, but suffice to say, I'm not comfy with anyone saying, "Oh yeah, it's good, just but it's a good sign when people are humble. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of people now who are the other end of humble, that they're just oozing arrogance to the point of delusion, and their work isn't that good. And what we're seeing culturally across the board, and you've only got to jump onto YouTube, onto any mainstream corporate news network, or anyone just doing what I'm doing tonight, live streaming. A lot of people, an ever increasing number of people, rate themselves as hot shit, and their work, the way they try to convey what he says, struggling to convey their topics, their points. They're often just not that adept at doing it, and yet they think they're a little bit, a little bit special. So we are living in a lot of inversion and a lot of sort of, as Stranger Things, the Netflix series, coined a lovely expression, the upside down. I think I've got that right. I enjoyed that show. Anything 80s, I love, being a Gen Xer. But the upside down, this perversion, this inversion, and it's, like, I understand now that my thing this year, my objective, my goal must be to change these live streams into something where I still do exactly this, but I'm at a technical level capable of just, I often, waffle on about this, but I need to understand the technical side in order to share screens with you guys, because a lot of things I want to do is to share, a lot of my thoughts that can be backed up with data, and I need to show you that data. As it stands, I'm saying things like, hey, this is a fact, and this happened, and I am essentially a monologuing talking head. So again, me being the harshest critic being me, I will level that criticism at myself and say, yeah, it's all well and good, Justin, but you're not doing, I don't know how to screen share, and I desperately need education and help, and it's something that I've got a mental block with it. Anyway, so on with my thing tonight, and the crux of it really is that there's been some real mic drops over the Christmas period and the festive period. And let me be more specific. The mic drops, I mean, I've just literally filled the first 12 minutes. I often do this because it's in the hope that people will arrive and sort of think, oh, Justin's streaming. So, whatever. It's been a tumultuous time. It's been a sneaky time, and let me be very very clear about what I'm trying to say here. As any regular listener or viewer will know, as a Brit, I live here in the UK, I'm very pro-America, and all the stuff I look at and listen to is probably, if I'm honest, 90% American, 10% UK. So that being said, I'm not very up on English news. The reason being, we tend to follow suit. We tend to inherit what America does, and for decades now, the US has set a template, hasn't it, for Western civilization. And I've got to talk about COVID. I've got to talk about this because, someone as prolific as Joe Rogan, with an audience the size of Joe Rogan's, which is, taken him a dozen years to cultivate that. And I've got nothing but respect for the man. Millions and millions of views. And this is culturally, and I'm very, very, very glad about this, because I would go so far as to say now, and although Joe Rogan would disagree with this, I don't think it's a stretch to say that people, certainly at a population percentage level, if you were to look at the X amount of hundreds of thousands in this crowd and that crowd, would probably put more faith in Joe Rogan than a Biden or a Fauci or a CNN or an MSNBC, because the four sources I've just mentioned, and I'm going to throw in our BBC with that as well, because our BBC, the British bullshitting Corporation is as guilty as the Americans are for dishing out propaganda. It's become completely propagandistic. It's been propagandized to the nth degree, so much so, and I frequently said it on here, that it's the type of propaganda that Hitler's mop, Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels himself, would have been happy with. It's a concerted campaign effort. It's a focused effort from the American government and our UK government to deliver messaging that has broken from reality, has broken from science, and has become nonsensical. So using a base of fear, what I'm understanding now, and this is, and anyone that's read any George Orwell will understand this. This is completely Orwellian, but it's actually very fascistic insofar as our UK government and organisations such as the BBC. You shouldn't require me. I'm not trying to twist your arm and saying, please believe me, I need you to believe me. No, I don't. I just need you to watch this stuff and take it flat. Just take it flat. Just neutralize yourself. Don't whap yourself. And again, that's one of my favorite self-made acronyms. WAP means weaponized and politicized. Not the Cardi B song. So this cultural shift, this COVID-sation has become weaponized and politicized. People have allowed themselves to become weaponized and politicized by the sources that I've just mentioned. Again, in the UK here, our mainstream corporate media like the BBC, and in America, MSNBC, CNN, Fauci, Biden. These people have been proven to lie now. You don't need to be you don't need to possess a conspiratorial mind. The level of lie now is so patent. It's so patently false and so blatant. It's in plain sight. It's so big. Whether you're watching Jen Psaki, the White House press secretary, or our Boris Johnson, the level of lying that's being perpetrated upon the people is so big and so obvious and so brutal that you'd frankly have to be either asleep or one of their ideologues, a zealot, frankly, to go along with it. So let me try and really get this down to a little apex point. Ask yourselves when you see fellow humans just walking down the street, in vast areas of openness, on their own, near nobody, near no other human being, and they're masked up and they're wearing often a mask or two. Ask yourself if that makes any sense at a scientific level or just a functioning level, or when you see the same type of human in a car on their own, in their own oxygen space, masked up. Now, wearing a mask has become a political act. Having gene therapy, which is the vaccine, it's not a vaccine. Again, this is not me saying, hey, this is my decision, this is my truth. No, these are facts. This is why on the World Health Organization and the Center of Disease Control, they've changed their language from immunization, inoculation, to just calling it a non-specific, very nebulous vaccine. So please go and visit these websites. Please go and look at the language. The concept of a vaccine, the concept of being immunized. Listen to my words, please. The concept of being inoculated. So inoculize, if you're immunized, to be inoculated against something, to be immunized against something is traditionally the correct language for a vaccine. If you are vaccinated against something. So this isn't the case with COVID. This is something that's moving and changing and evolving. This entire thing would have been, no pun intended, an easier pill to swallow if, and when I say they, let me be very clear, they being the government health advisors, so CDC, WHO, any bureaucratic person appearing on a mainstream corporate, media source, whether it's American TV or our TV, saying, wear a mask or two, have your third booster, you're not covered until you've had your fourth shot, etc., etc. When these things are being said, you don't need to, other than just, I struggle to find the words. I can see it, and I'm frankly surprised when other people can't see it. Now, this is not about, the traditional matrix conversation of, red pill, blue pill. It's just about nonsensical and sense, it's, we've hit a fulcrum point, and we really have, guys. We have been hurtling towards, and we have now hit a point. And as Rogan said, we really are going off the proverbial cliff, where huge amounts of the population here and in America are, they're locked. Probably, I don't know the percentage, I don't know, are in, they're parroting, they're in lockstep, they've got the boot on their throat and they love it. And what I'm referring to is the type of people, and you will know these people, you will all know these people, that they will be in your workplace and in your family and in your own sphere of friends, your own network, where these people are so affected and they're so ingrained, and it's more than brainwashing. It's been ingrained into their psyche, and this will really hopefully lead me into my big topic point tonight, this overarching point I want to make about mass formation psychosis. Now, the language is lovely, and of course, both Robert Malone and Peter McCullough, both doctors who have been on the Rogan's podcast. Again, if you're watching my live stream, then I hope people do, but whatever. I'm realistic. I'm a tiny, tiny, tiny voice, but cathartically, it's helping me. So whatever. But if you do watch on Spotify, it has to be Spotify, because of course YouTube have removed it, because it's true. You've got to understand that, guys. YouTube have, of course, removed the last couple of Rogan's podcasts because they're true, that they're factually correct. So when you've got vastly experienced doctors, the type of doctor, in the case of Dr. Peter McCullough, and I hope he has Paul Marrick on soon. I'd love him to get, very good journalists back on, like Glenn Greenwald and Matt Taibbi, and there's a beautiful woman called Kim Iverson. There are some genuinely good journalists reporting on this. coupled with a small army of great doctors and epidemiologists and virologists that are out there that are speaking the truth. And of course, the actual factual truth. And this is not a position. This is not about being on the right or on the left. It's about being factually correct versus being stuck in the propaganda camp. And it saddens me to say, and of course, what I'm saying, you're going to get the same mirror argument on their side. They would listen to me and go, that guy's been red pilled too much. He's a far right extremist. My viewpoints would be, called idiotic and imbecilic, and I'd be called, just a complete, well, they're very aggressive actually. That they'd call me lots of fruity names for taking this stance. That's the thing. I hate to pull this our side card, like the left side and the right side, because it's immediately becomes political. But I'm going to have to, for the sake of me explaining myself. Let me remove the word side and just say type or kind. So our kind of mindset, our type of people, are meaning people that understand the words that I'm saying, where we know COVID is real, we accept COVID is real, we also understand that the vaccine does play a role, and the vaccine does have effective use in people that really need it, and it's there's a possibility that the vaccine lessens your chance of being super ill with, but no longer does the vaccine do what a vaccine used to do. That's the lie, the one and done logic, the Dr. Fauci and our Neil Ferguson here in the UK, the completely nonsensical computer modelling. You've got to remember, guys, you can't do computer modelling on a COVID population. You've got to do actual real cases. Remember, we've been in a 2-year case study, and that upsets people that have taken the vaccine. Do your own project here, do your own experiment. What I mean by your own experiment, find someone in your family, find a friend, or it could be your own partner, and say to that person, you do realise you've taken an emergency use authorization drug and it's in trial phase and you are the trial. If just say to that person, not to bully them, not to chastise them, but just to say, look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I am anti-mandates. I'm absolutely vehemently opposed to people being, forcibly made, like, we'll take your job. This is an awful thing to do. Literally threatening people's livelihood and removing, sacking them, firing them for not complying. I mean, that's something that people are missing. That is actually fascistic. You've got to remember the irony here. The irony shouldn't be lost on anyone with any sort of level of base understanding. When I literally can't. I've got to emphasise this. I literally can't think of a better example of fascism, of an actual fascistic move than mandates. I'm surprised more people aren't saying it. When you look in the dictionary, please do look in the dictionary at the definition of fascism, of a fascistic governing body, where you have a concentration, a body, a government, a power, a collection of people, the government, forcing a course of action on or against its people. That's the mandate. So, and they're forcing people to do it by saying, if you don't comply, if you don't acquiesce, if you don't succumb and subjugate yourself and take this subservient position of just, just doing it, take the jab, right? We will sack you. We will literally take, I mean, this is what's going on. I can't think of a more fascistic move. So do your own homework, do your own experiment. Speak to someone that's taken the vaccine, explain to them, well, don't even preach. In fact, no, don't even lecture them. Ask them. Ask them. Simply say very kindly, very politely, are you aware that you're not inoculated? And you could sit there, you could take a position and say, look, I'm unvaccinated. I mean, I'm not allowed to be vaccinated. 5 doctors have told me, but that's just me. You could say to your friend, colleague, partner, family member that's completely invested in the vaccine and say, look, they'll probably want you to keep, 6 feet away because you're dirty leper. But you could say to them, why have you taken an experimental drug? And do you know that it's not inoculated, you're not immunized, you're not protected against, and see how they react. Again, not to bully them, but just ask them to explain why they've done it. And then when they say, well, I've done it because I want, because this will likely be their answer. Their answer will be, oh, I've taken the vaccine because I need, I want to go to work. I will lose my job otherwise. I want to go on an airplane. I want to travel. I want to go to public events and public places. And then say, here's fascism. Literally show them the dictionary definition of the word fascism when a governing body imposes on its people a type of behaviour or a rule or a law, and if it's like do this or else, that is fascism. And see how they react, see how they defend their government's position, because I guarantee you, I guarantee you, if you speak to someone that's vaccinated, they will like the government. They will be a fan of the government. It's very likely. Seriously, it's very likely. What Dr. Peter McCullough and Dr. Robert Malone, both very well known and experienced and very well read, very well versed. These doctors that have appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast. It's a huge platform, don't forget. They spoke, they really sort of whittled down what I've been blabbing about for the last half an hour about how, great numbers of people are behaving in a certain way, this nodding dog fashion of agreeing, again, it's compliance, it's what we're seeing, demonstrably what we're seeing in society are people that aren't interested in being free. They're not interested in going, I want my freedom, I want my right of self-government, I want my own sovereignty, I want to go where I please and speak and look and dress and act and move freely as I please. That is not allowed, that is not permitted, whether it's donning and doffing your face mask or masks. Again, this completely goes against freedom, the word freedom, to be free to move freely amongst people. Because let's not forget the reality that the vaccine now, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I'm just telling the truth about the vaccine. It's not as it was sold. It's not one and done. The vaccine itself has been proven to be ineffective in terms of its efficacy. You're looking at about a 4-month efficacy now. So you take a shot today, you're good for Jan, Feb, March and April, and you'll be due again 1st of May. So you're looking at quarterly shots. That's not my theory, that's not my opinion, these are just facts. So you're now looking at having to have a shot every quarter. So it's quite a bit for most people. So I guess my point is, either be true to yourself and just be like, I'm all in. I want my third and fourth and fifth booster. I want to wear all the face masks and I want to collect my merit badges, by just whatever sort of whatever floats your boat, whatever whatever your cup of tea is, yeah. So this mass formation psychosis is just sort of professional language, if you like, for what I've been describing, which is a course, as in a direction, a course of behaviour, a mass level of groupthink, where X amount of thousands of people are in alignment. So, of course, the people that have been vaccinated will have this opinion about people like me, people that whether you're not allowed the vaccine or don't want the vaccine, in their eyes, you're both evil, you're both dirty. So the attitude was probably well explained by Rogan. Actually, he did say on the podcast, there is an attitude of I've done it, so must you, and this is very, very, very childlike. Take yourselves back to your early memories of being 3 and 4 and 5. One of the most basic, hello buddy, how are you? Nice to see you. One of the most basic sort of behavioural traits, and again, you don't need to be a bloody, psychiatrist to work this one out, but we've always done this, humans, and it could be watching a football match, it could be, I don't know, whatever you support, whatever you stand for. So, like, I've had conversations with people now, albeit online. Nice to see you, brother. Just let me say, or just off topic, you're constantly in my thoughts. I mean that. This is to you, and your wee man is on my mind very much, and I sincerely mean that. Okay, so this is to you, brother. Yeah, just I've been worried about him. I've been, so yeah. So I just want him, as you say, to be home and to be well. So do keep me informed, please. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thinking of you all, mate. Thinking of you all. And you know what I'm like. I'm at the end of the day, I am talking publicly, so I'm protective of you, and I'm not going to say numbers and names and this. I'm not into all that, but you know what I mean. This is just, be great to have him back home. But yeah, what I'm yapping on about tonight. Like I said, this is my first stream in a week. I've had a week off, but I probably needed it. It's this mass formation psychosis, the fact that what we're seeing, I don't like the language, it's tribal, people are in two tribes and it's political, because just those words, just that language makes me, I roll my own eyes, like if you've only got to open up YouTube and all of a sudden, and I bet you, brother, have experienced this in the workplace, because the environment you work in, the sheer number of co-workers, I bet you're witnessing it. You can have a friend or a colleague or a family. I'm very much Mr. Hermit. You know that. I operate on my own. I live on my own. So in many ways, this entire bloody COVID thing has left me unaffected, because I'm not in an environment where I'm around 10, 20, 30 people. And I'm just, especially over Christmas, over the festive period, what I've noticed, and because I watch so much American news and the media, I was watching some footage of Boris tonight when I was at the gym on the BBC. The sound was off, and I watch a bit of Biden, and I think, my God, these are these bumbling sort of leaders, and that's one of the things that I find just it literally does not compute in my head when you see a Joe Biden or a Boris Johnson. I said, that's a thought. Joe Biden, JB, Boris Johnson, BJ. Do 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 do, do. And just a weird little moment in my freaky Justin head there. It's like JB and BJ. Obviously BJ, we know what that means, but that's just a funny little initial switch, isn't it? Joe Biden and Boris Johnson, probably the same person. But my point, my overarching point is these, between the UK and the US, there are many thousands of extremely intelligent people. And you look at these, elected leaders and you think, holy shit, you're just an actual retard. And I mean that because I know it's like, oh, you mustn't use that language, Justin. You mustn't say so and so's a retard because that's makes you a bigot, and you can't use that language anymore. And you must exercise more self-censorship. But I think about my language. I think about the context in which I use my words, and if you're behaving in a backwards fashion, if you're not progressing your mind and your own people, that is retardation. That is an actual, you are retarding thought and movement and policy and law and behaviour. And I personally know people in my own life who are exceedingly intelligent, who are very bright. And I understand why so many people have had to be vaccinated. It's such it's a bloody shame that it's come to this. I don't like when I see these people online hating their family, hating their friends. You filthy scumbag. I mean, some of the tweets and the posts and the language I've seen where people are actually wanting bad things to happen to people that haven't been vaccinated. I had a great conversation over Christmas with an old friend of mine. She's in Edinburgh now, and we've not spoken for probably several years. And I explained to her that 4 of my London docs have asked me to not be vaccinated. And if I actually include my own local GP, that makes 5. And I said to her, Liz, 5 people have said to me, you shouldn't get vaccinated at this time, and these are the reasons, because you've achieved better health the last 24 months just by leaving everything alone. And none of them want to tempt fate. None of them want to see my current health, which is the best it's been for 14 years, in any way jeopardized, because the vaccine for immunologically compromised person like me has the potential to make me go a bit downhill. And they're medical professionals that went to medical school for a decade. I didn't. And I'm not an epidemiologist or a virologist or an endocrinologist or any other ist. So I said to her, look, this is why I'm not vaxxed. And she laughed and was like, oh, you dirty leper. I said, I know, I'm one of the great unwashed, but we did it in good humour. And she's chosen to not be vaccinated because she's trying to get pregnant. And I just thought this is really interesting because both me and my old friend fall into the social category now of a pariah, of a leper, of an outsider. Oh God, they're dirty, they're but we've both got medical reasons why we're not vaxxed. And I just find that, and when I speak to people that have had to be vaccinated to keep their jobs, and have had to be vaccinated to keep, frankly, themselves and their family fed, I'm also conflicted. To be polite, to be charitable, I am conflicted by this because, again, if you present to people that have been vaccinated, and let me say for the dozenth time, I'm not anti-vax, I'm anti-mandating, look, I am anti-forcing anyone to do anything. There you go. Let me be clear, okay? Yeah, I am anti any government, any sort of governing body to say to a population, you will do this or else. That's it. That's it. Now that could be bloody licking lollipops or wearing red socks. I don't, name your policy. So the fact that it's the mandating of vaccines, and I know we haven't done it here, but look at what the US are doing, and this is the defining sort of. If we're to bracket the word fascism, please look up the word fascism because it simply means forcibly making people do a certain thing. It's an authoritarian move by a governing body, a collective of people, a collection of people that say, you will do this or else. That is fascism. And the irony is not lost on me because you've got certainly in America a supposed democratic party looking for living in a democracy, but they're forcing a fascistic rule, which is vaccine mandates. That's my confusion here, and this is why over the course of the festive season we saw world-class doctors, Peter McCullough and Dr. Robert Malone, both on Rogan's podcast, both using language like, this mass formation of psychosis. And although that language would be leveled at us, again, people that are so pro-vaccination would listen to my talking points and go, you idiot, you're numpty, you're a moron, you're stupid, they would accuse us lot of being that. But let me be very clear. The fact that mass formation psychosis is hard to find on Google, and over the weekend, literally over the weekend, in the last sort of 3 or 4 days, the attached language to mass formation psychosis is a far right or an extreme right talking point. This in and of itself is disturbing, isn't it? Because we know if you're in the centre like me, just a normal centrist, right? Because I'm in the centre, that, a far right is apparently a Nazi. And I just find the sort of tarring and feathering here, the character assassination to be very, very telling insofar as how dare we say of the conversation, oh my God, it's a mass formation psychosis, quickly Google themselves have forced people like me to go duck, duck, go. And I'm not the only one. When I saw certainly on American news tonight, watching The Hill, watching channels like that saying that they couldn't even find the definition of mass formation psychosis, because this is a terminology that was raised on the Rogan podcast. That's how we've arrived at this point, guys. Mass formation psychosis. Okay, so what's that? MFP, isn't it? Yeah. MFP, mass formation psychosis. Both Peter McCullough and Robert Malone, these two doctors who have got many decades of experience in this field, from HIV/AIDS all the way through to now with COVID, have used these terms to describe what's going on. This, you will join the herd, you will join us. It's very much invasion of the body snatchers, really. What's telling is the censorship. Both doctors have been removed from Twitter. This should concern you guys. This should really concern you, that using language like mass formation psychosis off Twitter and off YouTube, so much so that all the more reason to subscribe to Spotify, because I do. And although I still am a sucker for downloading YouTube premium documentaries, that's why I paid premium to download documentaries. Spotify allows the Rogan podcast with these controversial guests, and YouTube now has banned clips. That's the scary point I'm making. So any shadow channels clipping Rogan from the weekend have been removed. If that doesn't scare you, if you don't understand that that's actual fascism, then you really are asleep. So on that note, that's 50 minutes. I'm going to stop now. I might switch over and do a little bit of Twitch. I keep not doing Twitch, but this has been my first stream back. 2022, it's episode 454, coming to a close now. Thank you for listening. I do hope people come back and listen to this. I don't expect a very positive response to this, but I've said what I've said tonight because I need to, I want to, and I hope at the very least we can keep talking. I don't want to sound corny. It does sound a bit cheesy, but it's because I mean it. I actually mean it. I can't think of anything worse than the conversation of are you vaxxed or unvaxxed becoming so divisive, becoming so, divisive and derisive, and so just, really, it's as Musk would say, it's like an attack vector. People are attacking each other. It would be truly detrimental for family, for friends, for society, just for us humans behaving ourselves, if our government in the UK and the US government keep this, sort of pedal to the metal type, sort of messaging, this politicizing of everything, and how in February 2020, it'd be 2 years ago in February, won't it? Yeah, crikey, it will. What began as a conversation where people were bothered about each other and let's help each other through this, has now descended into hate, just hate. It really has. Let's not bullshit ourselves. The COVID-sation now, are you vaxxed or not, has morphed into a freaking horror story. I mean it. I mean, both sides are accusing the other of mass formation psychosis. In other words, red pill, blue pill. Are you deluded and watching the mainstream legacy corporate news and just swallowing all your blue pills? Are you a bit more red pill and a bit more awake to woke culture? This is where we're at. There are two films. I keep saying on this live stream, there are two films playing here. It's like, literally, to use a Star Wars analogy, film A would be for geeks like me that agree that the original Star Wars trilogy is the best and untouched and immortalized, and all the reboots and the prequels and the god awful, remaining 6 Star Wars movies that are just a big thumbs down from me. Yeah, it's like some people will like that, and some people will like the original 3, like me. So we're at a crossroads, guys, and I seriously hope something causes us to do the olive branch and the handshake, because this is not the way to do it. This is not cool. I don't work in a big office. I don't work in a high population environment. I just am on my own. So I've gone through this really as just a very singular human being. But let me finish tonight's stream by saying I actually mean what I say. Please look at the truth. Don't let yourselves be manipulated, and don't, you know, don't do what doesn't feel right. I mean, I can't say fairer than that. You know, that, like I say, I'll say it again. I'll say it again. The vaccine is absolutely a really good idea for people that are, you know, got those comorbidities, which I do, but who frankly need it, and it will lessen their chances of dying. Frankly, you know, that they we know. The job of any self-respecting virus is duplication, and we know this. This is basic viral spread 101. You know, it's greater transmissibility and less virulency. This is literally school biology, isn't it? The job of of a virus is to not kill its host, to not kill the cab driver, to be, you know, more transmissible and less virulent, which is exactly what Omicron's doing. In other words, if you've got a cold, it's presenting itself as a cold. Good-o. I think Omicron. Anyway, I'll stop. Okay, that was episode 454. Thank you, and I'll be back tomorrow night, episode 455. And yeah, cool. We're back. All right, same time, same place, same face tomorrow. Say goodbye to YouTube first.